with the baby boomers retiring, and we're just not making enough replacements as families in our state. And so it's really, it's a dilemma, it's a crisis situation, I would argue, that has to be dealt with now.
Well, let's walk through what's causing it besides demographics, and then we'll talk about solutions later on. We'll break it down since you were charged to look at economic development, workforce development, and educational development. We'll talk a little bit about each of those. In terms of economic development, it seems like, I think to most of us in this room, that there are a lot of different agencies out there doing economic development. Why is that a problem?
Well, there's only 600, Mike. There's only 600 in the state of Wisconsin. All well-meaning agencies, organizations, people that want to do something good for Wisconsin. How do you harness the energy of 600 organizations unless you actually start to consolidate and bring some leadership to all those organizations? So,
because I think this is important. You said that you know, we tell kids that 4 years is what you absolutely need to do, and yet how many drop out every year in Wisconsin? 14,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
Walk away.
And most of them are right here in the city of Milwaukee. It's particularly acute in our urban areas, and it's a big challenge for us.
There's a number in this report of the kids who do graduate. And I know this is probably makes some people a little unhappy when you reported this in your paper, but what did you say, 78% of MPS graduates need remediation for the students who are attending UWM classes?
Right. It's $66 million a year, remediation, not just here in Milwaukee, but across the state. Those are our high school graduates that need to have additional help to get them to the point that they can actually begin freshman year classes in our four-year institutions. And it's again, particularly acute here in our large urban areas that we're seeing, Milwaukee, Kenosha, but it's universal across the state. $66 million is, quite frankly, just blown up in smoke.
Now, the other interesting part of this is in the report you talk about, you know, sometimes we hear the term dropout factories, and they tend to apply it to high schools that have a dropout rate where only 60% of the kids graduate. But you say that term, and again, this has been controversial, you say that term actually could be applied to four-year University of Wisconsin system schools, and frankly, to our technical college system too. Why do you say that?
Well, because the dropout rate's extreme. You know, we graduate in 2 years about 29% only of those that begin a 2-year or 1-year education or technical colleges. 29%. You know, if you look at the UW system, that sort of thing, those that graduate in 4 years, it's kind of a lost art to be able to get out of a UW system school in 4 years. But if you raise it even to 5 years, you get about half out in that period of time. The dropouts in the freshman and sophomore year are extreme. And, you know, I look at that's a huge lost opportunity, not only for the taxpayer, but more importantly for the families and those individuals that paid that tuition, and they've got no return on that investment.
And why are they dropping out? Do we know?
Well, part of it is that they get discouraged. Again, they have to go through the remediation process. If they're being heavily remediated, they get discouraged. They've actually had to spend another year, quote unquote, of high school. They give up. They really don't see, I think in many respects, what the end game is for that education, especially since the fact that a large percentage of them are not finding jobs because the careers that they're going into don't have job openings.
So let's talk about how we change all of this. Let's talk about solutions. We'll begin with economic development efforts. We cannot have 600 agencies.
Right. Yeah, we need 9, and we have the 9.
We can get 600 down to 9?
We can get 600 down to 9. We can roll them under the 9. And you know, when I talked to the governor about this, he said, "How are you going to do that?" I said, "It's called money." I said, "We need to incent by giving those 9 money." And trust me, and we've studied this in other states, and we know this kind of as human nature. If somebody's got some money, people are going to coalesce around where the money's at. So our recommendation is, and we haven't determined exactly how much money we're going to ask from the budget yet, but we're asking for a significant amount of money that will go directly to those 9 economic development regions. And in southeastern Wisconsin, we're the M7, which includes Waukesha, Ozaki, Milwaukee, Racine, Kenosha, and basically pulls us all together as a region. The reason you gotta do that is those 9 regions were formed about 7 years ago, 8 years ago now, around common economic development reasons, if you will. You know, obviously our M7 region is a heavily manufacturing area. You have the paper making in the central part of the state, you have the dairy farm in other parts of the state. It kind of coalesced around reasons to exist and to have synergies between those various communities in those regions.
You also, in your recommendations, talk about the potential of institutions like University of Wisconsin-Madison and UWM to create startups.
Right.
And yet, you find compared to some other states, we're not doing as well. So you want to see a progress report on that. What are you talking about?
Well, there's over $1 billion now that goes into research and development, which is phenomenal. I mean, we are now world class with many other states. We have 2 states on either side of us, Michigan and Minnesota, that are kind of in that same class. If you compare the startups that come out of their research and development, what we have here in Wisconsin, we're falling well behind. The gold standard is a school like Stanford. I mean, Stanford's phenomenal. They don't start a research project unless they formed a company around the concept of what could come out of the backside of the research and development. It's not that complicated, but we want to make the UW system accountable for that because, quite frankly, it does a couple things for us. A lot of the research and development, some of it's in manufacturing, but a lot of it's in medical and various other types of. We have to move ourselves in the 21st century. There's 15 states out there that have adopted what they call an LMI software system. It's pretty basic. Anyone that knows anything about IT and everything else, if you look at the problem that we have, you just shake your head. Bring in some software that will really set the pace or set up the core of what we need on data. It's LMI.
Market information.
Labor market information in real time. So we could pull up, if we had a computer screen here, we could find out how many jobs are available in the state of Wisconsin right now, in real time.
And you think that would make a big difference?
Oh, a huge difference. First of all, at least you can start to quantify where the jobs are. Right now, you know, if you take a 30,000 number,